The conference room at Sterling and Associates fell silent after my brother Marcus's declaration. 11 rental properties in prime Florida locations: Tampa, Orlando, Miami Beach. Combined value, approximately $4.2 million. And according to Marcus, they were all his. "This is only fair," my mother added, her hand on Marcus's shoulder. "He's been managing these properties since Grandpa died. He's earned this." My father nodded, looking uncomfortable but resigned. "Tegan, you understand. Marcus has always been the responsible one. The business-minded one." My Aunt Rebecca smirked from across the mahogany table. "What would you even do with rental properties, Tegan? You work at some government office doing paperwork." I kept my expression neutral, my hands folded calmly in my lap. 5 years. I'd kept this secret for 5 years, watching, documenting, waiting for exactly this moment. "Well." Marcus leaned back in his leather chair, arms crossed. "Nothing to say? No tantrum? Good. Maybe you're finally growing up and accepting reality." I looked at my father. Really looked at him. He was 73 now, grayer than I remembered. He'd always chosen Marcus. Always. The golden child who could do no wrong. "Dad," I said quietly. "You really don't know, do you?" His fork, we'd been having lunch before this impromptu meeting, clattered to the table. His face went completely white. Marcus shot forward in his chair. "Know what?" I smiled. "Everything. Growing up, I was always the overlooked daughter. Marcus was 3 years older, charismatic, confident, the son who would carry on the family legacy. I was quiet, bookish, too sensitive, according to my mother. When I was 16, Grandpa Frank pulled me aside at Thanksgiving. "Tegan," he said, "you remind me of myself at your age. Everyone underestimating you because you don't make noise." Grandpa Frank had built his real estate empire from nothing. Starting in 1967 with a single duplex in Tampa, he'd spent 40 years acquiring properties, renovating them, building passive income. By the time I was born, he owned 17 rental units across Florida. "Your father doesn't have the stomach for this business," Grandpa told me during one of our Saturday morning breakfast meetings, a tradition that started when I was 14. "And Marcus thinks money should come easy. He doesn't understand the work." But he saw something in me. The way I asked questions about property values, market trends, tenant screening. The way I actually listened when he explained cap rates and cash-on-cash returns. When I turned 18, Grandpa made me an offer. "I'll pay for your college completely, any school, any degree. But I want you to double major. Business administration and real estate finance. And every summer you work for me. Learning the real business." I accepted immediately. My family barely noticed. Marcus was at Yale studying economics, the pride and joy. I went to University of Florida, a state school, my mother said with thinly veiled disappointment, and worked my tail off. Summers I learned everything. Property management, maintenance coordination, tenant relations, legal compliance, financial analysis. Grandpa Frank didn't just teach me, he tested me. Gave me properties to analyze, decisions to make, problems to solve. "You're a natural," he told me after I identified a tax advantage he'd missed on a property acquisition. "Better than any property manager I've ever hired." But I stayed quiet. Let my family think I was just helping Grandpa with light office work, while Marcus interned at prestigious investment banks. After college, I took a job at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Government work. Stable, boring, unimpressive. At least that's what my family thought. They had no idea I was in the Office of Policy Development and Research, working on housing market analysis, learning federal housing policy from the inside. "Still pushing papers for the government?" Marcus would say at family dinners, working at a private equity firm in New York. "When are you going to get a real job?" I'd smile. Say nothing. In 2019, Grandpa Frank's health started declining. He was 86, sharp as ever mentally, but his body was failing. He called me to his house in February. "Tegan," he said, "I'm not going to be around much longer. And I've made a decision." He slid a folder across his kitchen table. Inside were quit-claim deeds for 11 properties. Every single rental property still in his portfolio. He'd sold 6 over the years, but these 11 were the crown jewels. "I'm transferring these to you. Effective immediately. They're yours free and clear. No inheritance tax complications, no probate, no fighting. Just you." I stared at the documents, my hands shaking. Grandpa, this is worth about $3.8 million total at current market value, he finished. Generating approximately $18,400 in monthly rental income after expenses. I've watched you for 10 years, Tegan. You understand this business. You respect it. You'll protect it. What about Dad? Marcus. His expression hardened. Your father never wanted this responsibility. He made that clear 40 years ago. And Marcus. He shook his head. Marcus has been stealing from me. My stomach dropped. What? I let him take over management 3 years ago. Wanted to see what he'd do. He's been skimming. Collecting rent in cash from certain tenants, pocketing it, reporting lower occupancy rates. I have documentation. He's stolen approximately $127,000 over 3 years. I felt sick. I haven't confronted him because I wanted to see how far he'd go, Grandpa continued. And I wanted to see if he'd come clean. He hasn't. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to take ownership of these properties. Marcus doesn't need to know. Let him keep managing them. Keep collecting your rent through the property management software. Document everything he does. One day this will all come to light. And when it does, you'll be protected. We filed the deeds that week. Every single property transferred to me. Tegan Marie Caldwell, sole owner. County records completely legal, completely binding. Grandpa Frank died 4 months later in June 2019. At the funeral, Marcus played the grieving grandson perfectly. He taught me everything about business, he told mourners. He taught you nothing, I thought. And you stole from him while he was dying. For the next 5 years I lived a double life. To my family I was boring government employee Tegan. Sensible sedan, modest apartment, rarely traveling anywhere exciting. My mother would sigh about my wasted potential. Marcus would make jokes about my government salary. In reality I was building an empire. Those 11 properties generated serious income. I kept Marcus as the nominal manager. He thought he was managing them for the estate pending distribution. He had no idea the estate had already been distributed. To me. I hired a forensic accountant to track every dollar Marcus touched. Every skimmed payment, every falsified expense report, every tenant he charged under the table. The evidence folder grew thicker every month. The properties themselves I optimized ruthlessly. I refinanced 3 of them at lower interest rates, increasing monthly cash flow by $2,100. I renovated 2 others, increasing their rental value by 30%. I sold 1 property, a small duplex in a declining area, for $340,000 and used the proceeds to purchase a 4-unit building in an up-and-coming Tampa neighborhood for $425,000. My portfolio grew. By 2024, those 11 properties were now 12, worth approximately $5.1 million, generating $22,300 in monthly net income. But Marcus kept managing them. Kept stealing. The forensic accountant's latest report showed $186,000 in documented theft over 5 years. At my HUD job I excelled. Promoted twice. By 2023, I was a senior policy analyst making $112,000 annually. My family thought that was my only income. They had no idea about the $267,600 in annual rental income. Or the $890,000 in my investment accounts. Or the $1.2 million in equity I'd built across my properties. I was by any measure a millionaire. A successful real estate investor. Financially independent. And my family thought I was a boring government worker who never amounted to much. I watched Marcus buy a $85,000 BMW. Take vacations to Europe. Move into a luxury apartment in Boca Raton. All funded partially by money he was stealing from me. Real estate is so lucrative, he'd brag at family dinners. The management fees alone are incredible. He wasn't earning management fees. He was committing embezzlement. My father would beam with pride. That's my son. Always had a head for business. Mom would pat my hand sympathetically. Don't feel bad, Tegan. Not everyone is cut out for high achievement. I'd smile. Not. Say nothing. My best friend Jasmine was the only person who knew the truth. How do you stand it? she asked after one particularly brutal family dinner where Marcus announced his massive success in real estate. Because I'm not hiding, I told her. I'm watching. Every dismissive comment, every insult, every assumption. It's all evidence of who they really are. And one day they're going to face exactly what they've created. That day came in November 2024. My father called me on a Tuesday morning. Tegan, we need to have a family meeting. This Saturday. Sterling and Associates Law Office. It's time to settle Grandpa's estate. My heart started racing. His estate was settled 5 years ago, Dad. Not the properties. Those have been in limbo. Marcus has been managing them, but they need to be officially distributed. We've all discussed it and we think the fair thing is for Marcus to inherit them. He's done all the work. I was silent for a long moment. Tegan, you understand, right? This is only fair. I'll be there Saturday, I said quietly. After I hung up, I called my attorney, David Chin. They're making their move. Finally, David said, I've had your documentation ready for 3 years. Every deed, every transfer record, every piece of evidence. Want me to attend? Not yet. Let me see how this plays out first. I called the forensic accountant next. Final report. Everything. I need it by Friday. Already done, she said. Total documented theft. $186,340 over 5 years. Want me to hand deliver it? Please. Then I did something I hadn't done in 5 years. I called my father back. Dad, one question. Did you know Grandpa transferred those properties before he died? Long silence. What are you talking about? Never mind. See you Saturday. He didn't know. None of them knew. This was going to be spectacular. Saturday morning I dressed carefully. Simple black pantsuit, minimal jewelry, professional but understated. The same way I dressed to every family event for 5 years. I arrived at Sterling and Associates 15 minutes early. The law firm occupied the top floor of a downtown Tampa high-rise. Expensive. Marcus must have chosen it for the optics. My mother, father, Marcus, Aunt Rebecca and Uncle Tom were already in the conference room. Marcus sat at the head of the table like he owned the place. Tegan, Mom said surprised. You're early. Wouldn't miss this, I said taking a seat near the door. Marcus smirked. Good. Glad you're being mature about this. At exactly 10 a.m. a lawyer I didn't recognize entered. Good morning, everyone. I'm James Sterling. Marcus asked me to facilitate this family meeting regarding the distribution of Frank Caldwell's rental properties. Thank you for coming, everyone, Marcus began, standing like he was giving a presentation. As you know, I've been managing Grandpa's 11 rental properties for the past 5 years. It's been a lot of work, but I've done it out of love and respect for his legacy. My father nodded approvingly. These properties are worth approximately $4.2 million, Marcus continued. They generate significant monthly income. And after much consideration I believe, and I think you'll all agree, that the fair thing is for me to inherit them. Marcus has earned it, Mom said immediately. Aunt Rebecca nodded. He's been doing all the work. I sat quietly watching. Any objections? Marcus looked directly at me. I smiled. Just one question first, if that's okay? Marcus looked annoyed but nodded. Sure. Dad, I turned to my father. Before we go any further, I need to ask you something directly. Did Grandpa Frank ever discuss his estate plans with you? Specifically regarding the properties. Dad shifted uncomfortably. He said he was handling it. Why? And did you ever check the county property records? After he died. Why would I? Marcus was managing everything. So you don't actually know who owns these properties right now? It wasn't a question. Dad's face went pale. That same expression from the hook. The moment of terrible realization. Marcus shot forward. What are you talking about? They're part of Grandpa's estate pending distribution. That's why we're here. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. Mr. Sterling, I apologize for the confusion, but there's actually nothing to distribute. Would you mind pulling up the Hillsborough County property records? I can provide the property addresses. James Sterling looked confused but turned to his laptop. This is ridiculous, Marcus snapped. What are you doing? Dad, I said again looking at my father. You really don't know, do you? His fork, We'd been having lunch before this formal discussion, clattered to the china plate. His hands were shaking. Marcus screamed, "Toe what?" I smiled. "Who actually owns those 11 properties you've been managing for 5 years?" James Sterling's face changed as he pulled up the county records. This is unusual. These properties aren't in Frank Caldwell's name. They were transferred in February 2019. Transferred to who? Mom demanded. I stood up and walked to the screen, pulling up the documents on his laptop. One by one I displayed them. Property 1, 2847 Beach Boulevard, Tampa. Deed transferred February 18, 2019. Owner, Tegan Marie Caldwell. Marcus's face went white. Property 2, 156 Sunset Drive, Orlando. Deed transferred February 18, 2019. Owner, Tegan Marie Caldwell. This is impossible, Mom whispered. Property 3, 8934 Collins Avenue, Miami Beach. Deed transferred February 18, 2019. Owner, Tegan Marie Caldwell. Kept going. All 11 properties. Every single one. Wait, Dad said, his voice shaking. You've owned these properties for 5 years? Since 2 weeks before Grandpa died, I confirmed. He transferred them to me via quitclaim deed. Completely legal. Filed with the county. Public record. Anyone could have checked. You're lying, Marcus said, but his voice cracked. This is some kind of fraud. Would you like to see the original deeds? I pulled out a folder from my bag. I have certified copies. Or we can call the county clerk's office right now. Or you can check the property tax records. I've been paying all property taxes since 2019. James Sterling was scrolling through documents, his professional demeanor cracking. These are legitimate. Filed properly, notarized, recorded. Ms. Caldwell has been the legal owner since February 2019. The room erupted. How could you keep this secret? Mom shouted. Why didn't Grandpa tell us? Aunt Rebecca demanded. But I was watching Marcus. Watching the realization dawn on his face. The terrible understanding. Marcus, I said quietly. Do you know what this means? He couldn't speak. It means that for 5 years, you haven't been managing Grandpa's properties. You've been managing my properties. As my employee. Without a contract. Without my explicit authorization. Dad said I should. And more importantly, I continued, pulling out another folder. It means that every dollar you skimmed, every rent payment you pocketed, every falsified expense report you filed. That wasn't theft from an estate. That was theft from me. Direct embezzlement from the legal property owner. I opened the second folder. The forensic accountant's report. This is a complete financial analysis of every transaction you've made over 5 years. Conducted by Morrison & Associates, a licensed forensic accounting firm. I started reading. Unit 2847 Beach Boulevard. March 2019, you collected $1,850 in cash rent from tenant James Morrison. You reported the unit as vacant and pocketed the money. April 2019, same tenant, same amount. May 2019. Stop, Marcus whispered. Unit 156B, Sunset Drive. You charged tenant Maria Gonzalez a $300 late fee that doesn't exist in her lease. You kept the money and never reported it. You did this 17 times over 2 years. Stop. Over 5 years, I said, my voice steady and cold. You stole $186,340 from me. That's not an estimate. That's documented, proven, down to the dollar. I slid the report across the table to James Sterling. Every transaction is detailed here. Dates, amounts, methods. Including copies of the actual lease agreements versus the falsified reports Marcus submitted. Dad was staring at Marcus like he'd never seen him before. You stole from your sister? I didn't know. Marcus shouted. I thought I was managing Grandpa's properties. This is entrapment. Entrapment requires law enforcement involvement, I said calmly. This is just documentation. You stole money that didn't belong to you. The fact that you didn't know who you were stealing from doesn't actually matter. Theft is theft. Mom found her voice. Tegan, this is your brother. Surely we can work this out as a family. No, I said simply. What do you mean no? I mean I'm not interested in working this out. Marcus committed nearly $200,000 in felony theft. Over 5 years. Consistently. Deliberately. I turned to James Sterling. Mr. Sterling, I assume attorney-client privilege doesn't apply here since I'm not actually your client? He looked uncomfortable. That's correct. Good. Then you're a witness to this conversation. I pulled out a third folder. This is a formal complaint I'm filing with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Detailed documentation of felony grand theft, embezzlement, and fraud. Marcus lunged across the table. You can't do this to me. Uncle Tom grabbed him, pulling him back. I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm simply reporting crimes that you committed. Against me. Why? Dad asked, and he looked genuinely broken. Why did you wait? Why let this happen? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Because, Dad, I needed to know. I needed to see if Marcus would come clean. If any of you would question the situation. If anyone would check public records or ask basic questions or treat me like I might actually be competent. 5 years, I continued. 5 years of family dinners where Marcus bragged about his real estate success. Using my properties. 5 years of you telling me I wasted my potential. 5 years of Mom sighing about my little government job, while I was building a multi-million-dollar portfolio. 5 years of watching you choose him. Always. We didn't know, Mom whispered. You didn't ask, I corrected. Not once did any of you ask about my life with genuine interest. You assumed. You dismissed. You decided I was the failure and Marcus was the success, and you never questioned it. Aunt Rebecca spoke up, her voice sharp. So this is revenge. You're going to destroy your brother over hurt feelings. No, I said. I'm going to report crimes that were committed. That's not revenge. That's justice. And honestly, if Marcus had stopped stealing even once in 5 years, this would be different. But he didn't. He escalated. Last month, he pocketed $8,200 in a single week. I pulled out another document. This is a notice of termination of property management services. Marcus, you're fired. Effective immediately. You have 48 hours to turn over all keys, documents, and tenant contact information. And if I don't, he snarled. Then I add obstruction and conversion of property to my complaint. James Sterling cleared his throat. Miss Caldwell, I should mention, I cannot represent you in this matter as Marcus approached me first. But you should know that your documentation appears extremely thorough. If these allegations are accurate, this is indeed serious criminal behavior. They're accurate, I said. Every word. I stood up, gathering my folders. I'm going to leave now. I have a meeting with my actual attorney this afternoon to file the formal complaint. Marcus, you should probably hire a lawyer. A good one. Tegan, please, Dad said, standing. He's your brother. No, Dad. He's your son. There's a difference. Brothers don't steal from each other for 5 years. Brothers don't let you believe you're a failure while they profit from your success. I walked to the door and paused. One more thing. Those properties. They're worth $5.1 million now, not $4.2 million. Because over 5 years I refinanced them, renovated them, and acquired one additional unit. That's what actual real estate management looks like. I generate $22,300 in net monthly income from those properties. That's $267,600 annually. On top of my $112,000 government salary. I'm not a failure, Dad. I'm a millionaire. I've been one for 3 years. You just never bothered to notice. Mom started crying. Real tears. Goodbye, I said. I'm sure we'll see each other in court. As I reached for the door handle, Marcus shouted one last time, You're going to regret this. I'll fight you on everything. I'll prove you set me up. I turned back. Marcus, please fight me. Because here's what discovery will reveal. Grandpa Frank knew you were stealing from him before he died. He documented it. He left me a letter explaining exactly why he chose me and not you. It's in a safe deposit box, along with his personal journals detailing every conversation he tried to have with you about integrity and business ethics. You want to fight this in court? We'll bring all of that in. Every family dinner where you lied about your success. Every tenant who will testify you collected cash under the table. Every fake expense report with your signature. Or, I said quietly, You can accept that you got caught. That actions have consequences. And that maybe, just maybe, the person you dismissed as worthless was paying attention all along. I opened the door. Tegan, Dad called out. I stopped but didn't turn around. Did he really know? Did Grandpa really know Marcus was stealing? Yes, I said. He gave Marcus 3 years to come clean. He never did. So Grandpa protected what he'd built. He gave it to someone who would respect it. Why didn't he tell me? I finally turned around. He did, Dad. He tried to tell you for 40 years that Marcus wasn't ready. That he didn't have the character for this business. But you never listened to him either. You only heard what you wanted to hear. Just like you've only seen what you wanted to see. The successful son. The disappointing daughter. You built that story so completely that you never questioned it. Even when the evidence was public record. I walked out. Behind me I heard Marcus start screaming again. Heard Mom sobbing. Heard Aunt Rebecca's sharp voice demanding explanations. But I kept walking. Within 48 hours, everything collapsed for Marcus. Monday morning I filed the formal complaint with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. By Tuesday afternoon, 2 detectives showed up at Marcus's luxury apartment. He called me screaming. They're treating me like a criminal. You are a criminal, I said calmly. You stole $186,340. That's multiple counts of felony grand theft. I'll pay it back. I'll pay double. Just drop the complaint. That's not how this works, Marcus. You can't just pay your way out of felony charges. Wednesday the story hit local real estate industry newsletters. Property manager accused of massive embezzlement scheme. Marcus's name was public. His employer, the private equity firm, put him on immediate administrative leave. By Friday he was terminated. His landlord called him about the lease on his luxury apartment. Turns out, expensive places don't like tenants under criminal investigation. Mom called me Thursday night crying. Please, Tegan. He's your brother. He made mistakes, but he's family. He made $186,340 worth of mistakes. I corrected. Over 5 years. That's not a mistake, Mom. That's a pattern of deliberate criminal behavior. We'll pay you back. Every penny. With what money? I asked. Your retirement accounts? Dad's pension? That wouldn't even cover half of what Marcus stole. And it still wouldn't erase the crimes. You're destroying your family over money. No, I said. Marcus destroyed this family when he chose to steal from his dying grandfather and then from his sister. I'm just refusing to be silent about it anymore. She hung up on me. Dad tried a different approach. He showed up at my apartment Saturday morning. Tegan, I need you to understand something, he said, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I failed you. I see that now. I chose Marcus over and over and I was wrong. I said nothing. Your grandfather tried to tell me. He said you had something Marcus never would, integrity. Real understanding. I thought he was just being sentimental. He was being accurate, I said. I'm asking you not for Marcus but for me, is there any way to make this right? I considered his question. Dad, Marcus stole money for 5 years. He bragged about his success using my properties. He called me a failure while profiting from my assets. And not once did he feel guilty enough to stop. Even now he's not sorry he did it. He's sorry he got caught. What do you want me to say? I want you to understand that this isn't about revenge or hurt feelings. It's about consequences. Marcus committed crimes. Serious crimes. And if I drop the complaint, what does that teach him? That he can do whatever he wants as long as he's caught? That family means no accountability. Dad closed his eyes. No. For 5 years you all treated me like I was less than. Like I was the family disappointment. And you know what? I proved you wrong every single day. I built wealth. I built success. I did it quietly, strategically, intelligently. And I did it while watching my brother steal from me and my parents celebrate him for it. I'm sorry, Dad whispered. I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo 5 years. Sorry doesn't give me back the family dinners where I was dismissed. Sorry doesn't erase Marcus's crimes. So there's nothing I can do? You can support Marcus through his legal consequences, I said. You can finally hold him accountable. You can stop making excuses for him and let him face what he created. That's what he actually needs. Dad left without another word. 6 months later, Marcus accepted a plea deal. 5 counts of felony grand theft, reduced from the original 14 counts. 3 years probation, $186,340 in restitution, 200 hours community service, and a permanent criminal record. His legal career was over. His real estate aspirations were finished. His luxury lifestyle collapsed. He moved back in with my parents. I didn't attend the sentencing hearing. My attorney represented my interests. The judge ordered monthly restitution payments of $1,500 for the next 10 years plus interest. The money doesn't matter anymore. I have plenty of money. What matters is that Marcus finally faced consequences. Real consequences. The kind that don't disappear because you're the golden child. My parents and I have limited contact now. Holiday cards. Brief phone calls. We're polite, distant, careful. Mom asked me once if I'd ever forgive Marcus. Maybe, I told her. But forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean giving him access to my life again. It just means I'm not carrying anger about it anymore. Are you angry? She asked. No, I said honestly. I'm just done. My real family, Jasmine, my mentors from HUD, the business partners I've developed over the years, they threw me a celebration dinner when the legal case closed. To Tegan, Jasmine toasted, who proved that quiet strength beats loud arrogance every single time. I've expanded my portfolio since then. 14 properties now, worth $6.3 million, generating over $30,000 in monthly income. I left HUD to manage my investments full-time. Last month I received a LinkedIn message from Marcus. Just 2 sentences. You were right about everything. I'm sorry for who I was. I didn't respond. Some people think that makes me cold. I'm forgiving. Harsh. But here's what they don't understand. I gave Marcus 5 years. 5 years to stop stealing. 5 years to come clean. 5 years to show character. He never did. I gave my parents countless opportunities to see me, really see me, not just their assumptions. They never did. I didn't destroy my family. I simply stopped protecting them from the consequences of their own choices. 3 weeks ago I received a handwritten letter from my father. No return address, just forwarded through my attorney. Tegan, it read, I've been thinking about what you said. About really seeing you. I went back and checked some things. Your college transcripts. You graduated summa cum laude. I never even asked. Your HUD promotions, you were being recruited by private firms the whole time and chose to stay. I never knew. The properties, I pulled the county records finally. You didn't just maintain them. You improved them. Optimized them. Built something real. I'm ashamed that it took a criminal investigation for me to see my own daughter. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I see you now. And I'm in awe of what you've built. Not just the properties or the wealth. Your integrity. Your strength. Your ability to stay true to yourself even when everyone around you told you that you were less than. Your grandfather was right about you. About everything. I'm just sorry I couldn't see it while he was alive to know I finally understood. You don't have to respond to this. I just needed you to know. I'm proud of you. I should have said it 1,000 times before. I'm saying it now. I'm proud of you, Tegan. I keep that letter in my desk drawer. I haven't responded to it. Maybe I will someday. Maybe I won't. But either way, I know this. I don't need his pride anymore. I don't need his approval or his recognition or his belief in me. Because I built something real. Not through being the loudest voice in the room or the most confident or the most celebrated. I built it through patience, strategy, integrity, and the quiet understanding that success isn't about proving yourself to people who refuse to see you. It's about building something so undeniable that even in their blindness, they eventually have to acknowledge it exists. At the inheritance meeting, my brother claimed all 11 properties. He screamed, "Know what?" Now he knows. The whole family knows. I wasn't hiding my success. I was protecting it. And in the end, that protection was the smartest investment I ever made.